We are live.
All right, welcome everybody to our November 10th PAW meeting, and majority of the people will be joining us virtually today, but those of you that do, welcome, and hope that you've had a great fall so far. It's been a lot of good things going on here in the school district, and wanted to open up on the first one, agenda item, if there was anything that wasn't on the agenda. As we look at the agenda, I'm just going to be reviewing the district strategic plan, mission and vision statement, superintendent's leadership vision, bond projects with the timeline, and then the roundtable discussion. So I don't know, we have Mrs. DeGraw and Julie Hall here. Is there anything else on this, Julie, that you've heard from your Facebook or anything else that we might want to discuss at the end?
I'll keep thinking.
Keep thinking on that. If there's something that comes up, this is the time that if we had more people here, we would give them the opportunity to discuss different things. As I'm looking forward into future meetings, the next meeting is going to be scheduled for January. That's one where we will just get some feedback on our calendar. We will not, I'm going to say not, we will not be discussing a 4-day calendar. We are going to have a 3-year calendar with this one, but I do want some feedback just on some of the new things that we've had implemented, but that is going to be in January when we have that next meeting. So let's just get started. The reason why I wanted to bring up just to review, we've talked about the strategic plan during our board meetings. And some people might ask the question, why is the district doing this? Why is Superintendent Williams wanting this direction to go? Or why is he having his administrators do this? We can know a lot of that based off of our mission and vision statement. These are things that when we are implementing anything, we want it to be true to what our mission and vision statement is. And just as a reminder, our mission and vision statement, we're small school, big opportunities with endless possibilities. That really describes West Jefferson. We have 20% of our students that come and commute. They choose to come to West Jefferson instead of going to their local districts. We're grateful for those students to come. And a lot of those parents and those students are looking for a small school opportunity. And the second part with our vision is our students and staff are respectful, responsible, and ready. And as a small district school, I'm just going to read this part here. We have the opportunity to connect with students in a meaningful way. Students who attend West Jefferson are provided with many academic, extracurricular, and social opportunities. From dual credit classes to career technical education, which is our ag classes, business technology, our EMT, that's what our career technical education classes are. From clubs and athletics to fine arts, our students are given opportunities to participate in ways larger schools can't offer, or they're able to. And that's one thing that, as I reflect back on my time as a student at West Jefferson, I really enjoyed that opportunity. Those that don't know me, I did play sports, but I also did a lot of the clubs, FFA. Some of these opportunities have changed in my life and helped me really have a better perspective of the world, not just of West Jefferson. And we want our graduates to be prepared to continue their academic pursuits and to contribute to their communities. Through education and learning, our students will have the ability to achieve their future educational and career goals. So I know I'm doing a lot of reading on here, but that's something that this mission and vision statement is not just something that we are putting on there and saying, no, we're not going to follow this. This is what we want in all aspects. We believe that students can learn at high levels, and all means all. That is why our approach to standards and looking at teaching the standards and having opportunities with our blended days, having opportunities with our teachers to make sure kids are having opportunities to relearn different subjects. It's going to allow them to be able to be prepared to reach those goals. And the focus on student learning. So I know that there's been a lot of questions in the past saying, well, why are you only focusing on standards? Can't you just give me a grade? If we're just teaching a subject and giving somebody a grade, some students will say, what's the least I have to do to get a D? Some students are going to say, what's the least I have to do to get an A? And so instead of setting that bar to say, what is the least you have to do to get through life? And we've heard this, and I hate this term, just jump through the hoops and get your degree. That was something that I've heard growing up. I've heard that even when I was in college, and I've even heard the phrase D's get degrees. We've probably all heard that, but that shouldn't be our goal. Our goal should be, how do we help kids learn? And so our commitment, as we've been, we've trained in our district about professional learning communities. A professional learning community is a group of teachers who work together to ensure high levels of learning. And to be committed to that, we ask 4 questions. What is it that our students need to learn? How do we know they've learned it? What do we do when they haven't learned it? And what do we do when they have learned it? Those are the process, those questions that we're always asking as a school as we approach the learning process. And so this is the only part on the mission and vision that I wanted to approach today, because when people do ask, well, why is the superintendent saying that we need to be good sports at the sporting events? Why is he saying that? Well, one is we ask our students to be respectful, responsible, and ready. And we want it to be a positive experience for those kids. And so you can see that the things that I've asked or worked with people or encouraged people is not even, it's not going away from this. Now, nowhere did I say we're a small school, big opportunities, endless guaranteed possibilities. There's no guarantee in any of this in life. And so there's a lot of different things that we look at and say, well, how could my kids not valedictorian? We can't guarantee that, but we can set up a situation where they will have a great opportunity to learn and grow. Which takes me to the superintendent's leadership vision. The school board is elected by the people in the community. And there are 5 different zones with our school boards. Each of them have a 4-year term with those school boards. The school board members have 1 employee, and that employee is me. They hire me as the superintendent to oversee all of the other business going on in the district. And so the school board, they will yearly evaluate my job as a superintendent. And so they'll come in and they'll get together, and I have different goals that I've set up with them, and I work towards those goals, and they evaluate me on those. As part of that evaluation process, I've provided to the school board since year 1, now that I'm in year 3 as superintendent, some leadership vision goals that I have that I want to live up to as superintendent. And this is one that I've shared with the school board during my evaluation. And these are things that say, okay, again, this goes back to is why is Superintendent Williams wanting to do this in the district? Why is he maybe asking us this? These are the things that I've told the school district, I told the school board members that I want to follow. These are the things that I am being evaluated on. And one of the definitions of integrity, which comes from Brene Brown's Dare to Lead, is choosing courage over comfort. It's choosing what's right over what's fun, fast, easy, and it's practicing your values, not just professing them. That's hard to do. I'm not perfect in any of these things, but I strive to be. I strive to do my very best with this. And being in a leadership position, I am so great. This is a great community. This is a wonderful community. But at times when we're asked to take a stand that's not popular or take a stand that's not easy, that takes integrity and it takes courage. That's something that I try to do. I don't try to seek it out to try to make people mad on purpose. I don't try to seek it out to say, hey, who can I disrupt today and make angry at me? That's something that I try to do as superintendent. An acronym of BRAVING stands for boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, generosity. These are different areas that Brene Brown has taught in her book, Dare to Lead, that I've shared with leadership, I've shared with teachers. In our district, we want to understand our boundaries. And with the boundaries, there are also a thing called chain of command. And our school board recognizes this as well. When I was first hired as superintendent, we had our first new school board members, we received a training and they came in and they taught us, this is what the school board does, this is what the superintendent should be doing. And if we stay within our boundaries, the district will flow in a positive direction. It allows us to be able to function in a way that is respectful, as a way that we can work through things. And if you look back on our board meetings, some of the decisions, not every decision is viewed the same way by our school board members. They see it differently. But one thing that you have seen is that they are still respectful to each other, and they understand that we might disagree, but at the very end, we have what's best in mind for West Jefferson. And so as we look through the different highlights, a positive and safe school environment is something that I strive to do, is to have a positive and safe atmosphere for our students, employees, community, and trustees. I put trustees, that means our school board members. Employees would be all of our employees. We don't want, even when we have disagreements with an employee, whether that's a teacher, whether that's an administrator, whether that's a coach, whether that's a bus supervisor or anybody else, we still want to have a positive and safe school environment. So when we have disagreements, we should really go to the person and visit with them face to face. Say, this is my issue. This is what's going on. Now, this kind of ties into the second bullet. And again, these were bullets that I've had in my leadership vision really since I've started as superintendent. A supportive and approachable administration. And I strive to have the values of a servant leader. I'm not going to ask anybody to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself, and be as honest and transparent that we can. Now, there's certain things when it comes to an employee's observations, evaluations, personnel issues, we can't share that with people. And sometimes when people come and they're like, how come this with this teacher? Now, if it's a personnel issue and I'm working with that person on those specific things, I can't come out and share that with people and say, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, I have Mrs. DeGraw in here. I can't come in and say, yeah, Mrs. DeGraw needs to do this and this better. And that's something, that's a personnel issue. We can't share that. And so when I want to be supportive and approachable, I want people to know that I am listening and I am considering everything that's been said. And with this last situation that we had in the district, I think it was probably our most of the feedback came with the academic sportsmanship stuff that I'll talk on. But one of the things that came out during that people were saying to my school board members is that your administration is just not listening to us. And I don't know if I wasn't listening or I wasn't doing what people wanted me to do immediately. There's a process that has to happen. So if I come across, I can probably do some things better on listening, making sure that, yes, I've heard what you said. But when I am listening, we ask that people recognize that we can't just do what you want all the time and immediately. There's a process that takes place with all things. And I just hope that there's not that confusion between you're not listening to me or you're not doing what I'm telling. Now, if you want to go and tell the school board members, Shane's not doing what I'm telling him to do, that's okay. That's better than saying he's not listening to me, because I hope that through all of this, that come and visit with me, with people that say I'm not listening, let me know how I'm not listening, and I will try to do better as your superintendent. We have to have supportive and approachable administration. I've talked with all of my administrators at the building level. I ask them to be this way. Please go to them if you have concerns, and let them help you with the situation. The next bullet is thoughtful decision-making based on data and research. Reactionary and rash decisions are often based on limited information. The greater the issue, the higher amounts of deliberation and collaboration and research. And so again, if we're coming in and someone's upset about an employee, it can't just be, oh yeah, let's get rid of this employee right now because I have two people coming in with it. We have to look at more than just what's going on. And it also goes back down to personnel issues. Those things take process, and by law, I can't come back out and say, yep, this is exactly what happened and this is what we're going to do. We're an academic institution first. Public schools offer our students many academic, social, and extracurricular opportunities, but we should be an academic institution first. I would really love to see the energy that we put towards athletics also see that same effort into academics. Now, when I say we, I'm not saying that as a district, because we put more money into academics than athletics by far. When you look at all of the different things that take place, and when you say, where's your resources going? The money by far is 95% or more goes to the academics. Athletics are things that people enjoy, especially in our community. I enjoy athletics. I love West Jefferson athletics, and I want us to succeed, and I want us to be successful. But it shouldn't be at the expense of the academic part. That's what we're here for. And so on the last one, setbacks and trials equals opportunities for growth. This is something that I see for me, that when I have a setback or I have something that just doesn't happen and go the right way, it's a chance to come back and grow. When we've had different things that didn't go our way in the district or the way that we wanted to, we felt like it was an opportunity for growth and an opportunity for us to be able to learn from that process. And so these are things that, as a superintendent, that I follow and do my very, very best to do. And I wanted to touch on a couple of different things as we go throughout that. With a well-rounded educational experience, I talked on that already, but a positive and safe school environment. We see that positive, safe school environment is part of what I strive to be and do as an offer as a superintendent. And so I want to talk a little bit about the Sportsmanship Manual that I shared via our Ed Leo and also on Facebook a couple weeks ago. But I have, Patty, do you have a question or anything? You came in, we have Patty Bingham that just came in. It's hard not having enough people here, because I can see that I wouldn't make it as a news guy all the time. But
they have partners.
But there's different things, and as I was going with boundaries again, chain of command, I'm just going to bring that up. Oh, I already have that there. When it comes to chain of command, some of the things that we learned on this last little bit is when people go on social media and said, well, I've talked to that teacher or I've talked to that coach. I don't know if both parties really believe that they've talked. So let's just make sure that when there's an issue, follow that chain of command, go and talk to that person. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and go and visit with them. So if you're a parent out there and you're upset at something that a teacher's doing, you're going to have a better chance of helping the problem get fixed in a positive way if you set up an appointment and go visit with the person. And that's not controversy. That's actually a great way to do it. If you're going out into the community and saying, I just don't really like what that teacher's doing, I really don't like what that coach is doing, that is not helping the situation. Go to the person and set up a time and trust that will work. Will it change it completely? I don't know, but it's a better chance to go talk to the person directly to get something resolved than just going the other way. So a couple weeks ago, I did send out a message as superintendent, bringing to light just some issues with sportsmanship that we had. And overwhelmingly, I had a lot of people tell me, thank you for doing that. Thank you for coming and sending that out as a superintendent. Were there some people that were irked by me sending that out? Yeah, there were some. Some were upset that I sent it out, not because they didn't disagree with that, maybe our sportsmanship, but they felt like that was their only way to be heard with their frustrations. And so I get that we live in America and that we have the right to voice our opinions however we want to, but we do need to establish that that is not the right place at a school event. So a football game, a basketball game, a softball game, choir, any of that, if it's held here or anything that West Jefferson School District is involved with, it falls under the same parameters of a school environment, which is we do not allow people to publicly bash, yell out, belittle, not only is it poor taste from our community or poor taste for that individual, but other people from the other areas, when they see one person doing that from West Jefferson, they now think that everybody from West Jefferson agrees with that. That's all there is to it. They think that everybody from West Jefferson, they know there's a lot of good people, but that's when they leave, like West Jefferson does that. Patty, you've been to a lot of games, Patty, with your boys, and even won the son on the state championship football team. So you've been to quite a few.
I just say, the student, you got to remember that's not good for the student or the athlete. It harms them, shuts them down so they can't play. So it's the wrong atmosphere. It's the same thing as if you went into a classroom and started yelling in front of all the kids. You can't do that. You've got to save your child and not do it in front of them.
Yeah.
You've got to have that discussion on the sidelines, out of the area, out of the situation. In a calm manner.
In one of the letters, I talked about the 4 things that we even have a big banner in our gym that says, with sportsmanship, let the players play, the coaches coach, the officials officiate, and fans and parents be positive in your cheering. That's something that the reason why we have that is so that the kids can have a positive experience. Now, some people have asked, well, shouldn't we win? Isn't that the positive experience? Winning is an outcome, and I want us to win. I want us to focus as hard as we can on trying to win. But there's a lot of things that come into a game in competition that aren't always a given. Sometimes there are people that we're competing against that maybe they're bigger, maybe they're stronger, maybe they're faster. And if that's the case, it's not going to be easy for us to win that game if somebody's bigger, stronger, faster, or they have more people. It's not gonna it's gonna be a little bit harder, but that's going to be a challenge for our kids. And we always talk about saying, well, sports provide a real life opportunity for our kids. So let me give an example of what it looks like if a parent comes in to take away all of the negative things that could happen from not competing as well or losing that game. I know it sounds ridiculous when kids go to college and you hear college professors say this, that we have a kid flunking a class in college because they're not coming to class, and the parent calls the professor to yell at the professor. This happens. This happens today because parents are getting involved and they go to the professor and say, quit, you can't fail my kid. He has an issue or something like this, or this is his problem and he can't get there. And so they yell at the professor, and the professor is now going, well, this kid's in my class and he's in college. Let's rewind and look at that here. Here's my kid, he's playing in a game. Things aren't going well. Coaches ran a play that I didn't like, or coach is doing something here that I didn't like. So let me come in and try to protect my kid or save face publicly, when really that's not a time to do that. You're doing the exact same thing. It's just one's in an academic setting and one's here. Your kid graduates from high school now and goes into work in the workforce, and he's working for a boss, and maybe a coworker at that place and him aren't getting along. If the parent calls in to talk to the boss to come in and take care of the issue, we are not giving our kids a chance to work through things that are uncomfortable in sports situations. The things that are uncomfortable in sports situations is you have 2 types of sports that we offer here. We have individual sports that also have team elements to them. That would be like your cross country, like your wrestling. You can compete individually and win a state championship individually, and cumulatively you can have that. So you have kind of a different way. But on a basketball team or a football team or volleyball team, you can't have an individual state champion on that team. It has to be a team only. And there's going to be some times where you have to be okay with that. And so we need to ask ourselves as parents, when we're putting our kids into these athletic positions, am I coming in and taking away the chance for my kid to really grow from this? And we grow from negative opportunities. I'm going to go back. Setbacks and trials equals opportunity for growth. Now, I'm not striving to have, I'm not saying I want all of our teachers and coaches to create the most negative experience for the kids and make it so hard that I'm going out and I'm looking for people who are going to be jerks to the kids, play mind games with them, and, sit them here, sit them there. No, we want our coaches and our teachers to encourage growth, but it's also to encourage teamwork, staying positive through adversity. Some of that is being happy for other people. And so in the Sportsmanship Manual, this is from the IHSA. I didn't make this up. This is something that the IHSA puts out, and I shared some of these things in the earlier letter that I sent out, but it has just the mission, vision, the different responsibilities for the different kids. So here, these are saying it in a different way when it says let the players play, the coaches coach, the officials officiate, and be positive. And so exercise respective behavior. That's one of the things when we come in, if we're coming to a game and we're so caught up in having to win, and then we're so caught up in trying to defend whether or not our son or daughter didn't get to play enough, or the coach said this to them. Our coaches are not going to be perfect. But neither are our players, neither are our coaches, and neither are our parents. I get that. None of us are going to be perfect. But this should be the standard that we're trying to tell ourselves to go back and say, what can we do? We need to exercise control. We need to be able to recognize and appreciate the performances regardless of the team. When you go and watch a game that you don't have an emotional attachment to, it's really interesting because the officials are all of a sudden a lot better than they've ever been. The coaches are doing an all right job. And we just don't get caught up into that. And so let's recognize good sportsmanship. I was watching my nephew, who doesn't live in our school district. He's actually playing for a state championship this next week. And I was watching it on NFHS. And so he's a senior at his school, and they were in the semifinals of the game, and it was a close football game going back and forth. And I saw him 2 different times go and help a player up that he didn't even knock down from the other team. And it was just like a small little thing that it stood out to me. And I was like, wow, he went and just helped this kid up, just, gave him a pat on the back and walked away. I can remember my coaches saying, knock him down, hit him hard, and be the first to help him up. Like, we can still compete and still be like, have that eye of the tiger without being a jerk, and at the end of the day, there are certain things that come into play that determine whether we win or lose. And it's not all about the effort of the kids. And sometimes it's not all about the skill of the coach. Sometimes it's flat out luck, and sometimes it's how we match up with other people. So let me talk about display respect for officials on this one. This is not one you're saying, okay, superintendent, I know that you've officiated sports for over 20 years. I have. I've officiated high school sports for over 20 years in basketball and football. And for about 12 to 15 years in softball and baseball. And it's one of the things that I've seen the best and the worst of people when it comes through sports. I've seen situations where we miss the opportunity to help kids really be prepared for the future, because we're still in our mind saying, I've got to protect my kid from anything negative that can happen from them. And so as an official, there's times that I get that people are part of the game. And so if parents are out there listening and you're going, so does that mean I need to come to the game and sit on my hands and be like, yay, nice job. Yay, good job. No, you can still be in and cheering. And it's okay to react to a call. So I get caught up in it as well, even as I'm watching. And sometimes when I see it and I think it should have been a travel or a foul, I might vocally say, oh, it's a travel, because I just reacted to that call because I was in it. It's one thing to react and then move on. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually normal. That's actually part of being competitive and part of being on there. The part about that we need to stop and check ourselves on is, now that I say, oh, that's a travel, If I let it go right there, the ref's not going to say a thing. But if I start going, that's a travel, come on, where did you learn that? You got to call it both ways. Now I'm starting to go down the line of, okay, I'm taking it too far. And do you really think that refs want to have a conversation with, if the ref is going to have a conversation with a fan, that means you're this close to not watching the game and you're going to have to get the NFHS app and, go out and watch it in your car. The refs are okay with a reaction. They're not okay with, I'm going to wait till it comes down. So now I can get my pot shot at you and yell it out. And some of these refs, you might know their names. Don't say it. Don't yell their name out. That's you calling out to them saying, I want to leave the game. That's what you want to do. And so we want to make sure that we recognize that these refs, for most people, I'm going to say 99.9% of our fans, any of these refs have reffed more games than you guys have. I know a couple people that live in our community that have ref for 1 or 2 years that don't anymore. And they have knowledge and understanding, but unless you're the ones out there on the court, let them do their job. We can't play the games without the refs. And nationally, we've had a decline in officials. And the football officials this last year were 25 officials lower than they were the year before. Our basketball officials, I haven't talked with my friend who's the commissioner on that, but I know they're down. They have a lot of new guys that are coming in. So you know what that means? There's going to be some inexperienced officials. And part of that is because they've been disrespected. It's not always about the pay. You don't get paid enough to ref. But it sure goes a long ways as a ref when you could go and enjoy a high school event where there was good sportsmanship on both sides. Both sides fought really hard. And at the end of the game, I didn't have 5 people lining up in the hallway to tell me how I screwed over their family and their kids because they lost. And that was the worst thing. And it's even more embarrassing when we do it when the kids are really little. Come on, you guys. These refs are not going to the local pubs to say, hey, what can we do to make sure West Jefferson's junior high team doesn't win today? They're not doing that. And so what they're doing is refs are normal people. Maybe they're not completely normal because they're willing to come out and ref, which I'm one of them. Like, they're normal people that are working or they're in college and they have things going on and they have finals. And they might have family members with medical problems, or they might have just had a spouse that had a baby and they're not sleeping. And then they're going to rush and hurry and come to get paid $40 to ref a game where they're spending the whole night away from their family to go back. That's a huge commitment just for this. And that's one reason why we don't have as many. So let's be respectful to our officials. Let them officiate. If you react, great. Let it go. After that, react, let it go. Be part of the game, but let it go. Display respect for your opponents and display pride in your actions. I'm just going to talk about let the players play, the coaches coach, the officials. I talked about the officials. Let's talk about the players. Let them play. I know that a lot of us have coached our kids in these city leagues and everything else. We've coached them in junior high. We've coached them in grid kid. This is going to be something that, and I'm going to put that out there. My oldest is in 6th grade. When he gets in high school or when he gets in organized sports, if I'm coaching from the stands and I'm not the coach on the sideline, come and call me out on that and say, Shane, let the coaches coach, let the players play. Because at that time, I am not the coach. I am now a fan and a dad. And yes, I'm putting myself out there, and it's a challenge to everybody out there. Just to make sure, because that challenge is, I'm going to go back to, hold on.
I remind Corey of that a couple times, but he's pretty good.
It's hard. It's hard, but when you go to, what was this one right here? I'm not going to ask others to do what I'm not willing to do. Part of the servant leadership. You know, it's one of the things that as parents, we need to make sure that we are not trying to take over the coach. Here's some examples of when coaches or when parents do that. Pull that out. So I know that I've coached my kids in grid kid football. But if I'm not their coach on the sideline, I should be encourage them, not coaching them. That's the coach's job. And it even gets worse when we hear parents that are yelling things contrary to what the coaching staff is trying to do. And it happens not intentionally, but that's what happens. Our coaches don't always want to press. Our coaches don't always want to have somebody up. Maybe they have a zone coverage. Maybe they have something else going on, or maybe they don't want to shoot a shot right now. There's a lot of different things when it comes into strategy that let those players play. I have been on games that I've officiated where it's a foul shot and the kids are lined up and I can hear a parent yelling, this is not a West Jefferson story, so don't if you're listening, it's not a West Jefferson story, but I'm there to bounce the ball in for the foul shot, and the parent is embarrassing. And they're yelling at the ref and they're yelling at the kid, get on a minute or do this, whatever it is. And the kid has their back to their parent and they're going, shut up, Dad. Just shut up, Dad. You don't realize the kids don't need us to be doing that. I'm going there. I'm like, it's just kind of, as a ref, I'm going, poor kid. They have enough pressure to be out here on the game. They're doing the very best that they can. And then to have the parent screaming something at them that wasn't positive. And then, I don't know, does the kid want to then go get in the car all the way home to listen to the parent talk to him about how awful they were and how much the coach sucked and how the ref were bad that game? And like, look at this, what we're creating. We put a lot of time into sports, but think about how much of it's been negative and how much of it's been critical towards other people. Instead of just saying, hey, that was tough. You worked really hard out there. Yeah, a couple calls didn't go your way. But you know what? I bet the coach has a good plan next time. You'll come in and work better on it and celebrate that. Okay, so I've talked about let the players play. Coaches coach. That's what they're there for. The coaches will make mistakes. They're not perfect. And it's so easy to coach and ref from the stands because you have no pressure on you. No pressure. Like, there's no pressure to sit there and just go like, the only pressure I have is, am I going to get mad about playing time, or am I going to get mad about something like this? Or am I going to get jealous because somebody scored more points? That's what we have to deal with as parents. We've got to check our pride, leave it at the door and say, my kid's on a team sport. If you don't want your kid on a team sport, do a different sport. Or if you want the kid to just have fun, coach their rec league team. Those are the different things. We can't promise everything when you're doing that. And parents, cheer positively. I've tried this before. If you come in and you just challenge yourself to say, I'm going to be positive today. That means you can still cheer. You can still get intense. You can still be like with the crowd cheers and things like that. But just stay away from the negative stuff. Yeah, maybe your competitive juices are coming out and you're wanting to get competitive, but you're not the one competing, parent. It's the kids. The kids are the ones that are actually competing. And I think that's what happens when we get in against some of our rivals. We start playing against our rivals and we start thinking back of all the wrong things that ever been done over the past, history of playing our rival. And it all comes back out. And it's a statement. I can remember reffing one of the teams in our conference, and the coach who was coaching the opposite team used to be a West Jefferson student and player and athlete. And he came up and he's like, Shane, you know that they're doing that. You know that they're doing that because they've always done that. And they really weren't doing that in the game. But they were so caught up with things that they used to do that they felt like it was always there. And so they just get caught up into it. I've been really impressed. I know, Julie, you had there's been one parent meeting so far, and Coach Dixon shared a few things similar to these things that and what was your experience with that stood out to you that maybe we need to keep doing better at and things?
Well, I did think that she kept everything on a positive note and praising the parents that that they were staying positive within the program. One of the things that she really emphasized was that if they do have an issue, to make sure that they're making an appointment with the coach to talk at least 24 hours later, so that the emotions are not high and, you know, they can have time to think about what needs to be said, and also to include the athlete in that meeting so that they can have a conversation with the coach, the parent, and the athlete together, so that they can, you know, make adjustments if need be, or if they can, you know, they just need to just coordinate their efforts, I guess, so that they can have a good experience. But I think there's something else that, well, and you know, one of the things is just that playing time and things like that, it just is not always equal. And their goal is to win and to build these kids and teach them life lessons. And sometimes it's not going to seem fair, but they're the ones that see them at practice every day, and they're the ones that, you know, see their strengths at practice and their attitudes and their, you know, all of that. And so there's a lot more that goes into it than the couple hours on the game day. So
Yeah,
all I can think of.
the coaches have to make so many decisions all the time. And I can remember as a coach, and this is something that I learned and grew from as a coach. When I was a coach here in this program, there was a time I didn't get a player in with a lot of playing time, and the parent called and they were upset with me about that. And I reflected on that a little bit, and the parent had a reason why. They're like, is it because of this and this that they're not playing? And that wasn't it at all. But that was that parent's perception on it. But it made me as a coach reflect and say, could I have done a little bit better? Could I have changed it a little bit differently? You know, and I learned and grew from that experience as a coach. But the parent at least gave me the chance to at least call me. That was pre-Facebook time, you know, and everything else. But at least the parent called me and had a conversation with me on it. And it probably wasn't easy for that parent to do that. And it wasn't easy for me to hear it as a coach. But honestly, I was caught up wanting to, like, I should have got the player in a little bit earlier. So did the coach make a mistake at that time? Yeah, I made a mistake as a coach. Was it a personal attack on the kid? No. Did the parent think it was a personal attack? That's how they viewed it initially. And maybe they still did, or maybe they still do. And that was, shoot, that's been almost 20 years ago. But it's just, that just illustrates the point that our coaches aren't perfect. And until we have people wanting to volunteer to be a coach, or come and applying to be a coach and really putting your money where it's at, you know what? We've got to support what we have and do the very best with what we do have. But thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts? I do want to say, after my notice on sportsmanship, if I could go back, one thing I wish I would have put is that recognize that we really do have more positives than negatives. It's just that these last couple negatives jumped out being way over the top, and something that we just can't go there again. We need to make sure that we just have established our guidelines, established the things that we need to do, that we don't go over the top in those types of a situation. But the things that we are proud of is we do have a lot of support in the district. This is not me sitting in a chair trying to tell parents, you have to do this. But in a way, at home, you don't have to. When you come to a school event, it's for the kids. It goes back to what Patty said. The whole reason why I'm saying this is I'm trying to protect our students first, and I'm going to protect our employees second. They work here for West Jefferson, and I cannot just stand by letting people belittle and demean a school employee. And so if people say that I'm too supportive of our teachers, or I'm too supportive of our coaches, I work with our coaches and our athletic director and our teachers and our principals on working through those things. Again, that goes back to a personnel issue. I'm not going to share that out in front of everybody and say, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working with the coach, and here's their improvement plan. That's none of your business. It's none of your business, and it's not going to be something that we can share with you, but we are going to do it but I'm also not going to let somebody come and publicly do it and just belittle. Somebody comes into the office and they're yelling and screaming at Mrs. Van Epps, or they're screaming at Mr. Johnson. Guess what? You don't have the right to stay in the school building and be disruptive like that. There's no difference when it's coming into a school event. And so that just stays true to the positive, safe and school environment. This isn't something new. This wasn't a reactionary thing that I came out with. This is something that we're just going to establish the guidelines. So I think we've talked about that forever. I feel like hopefully those of you guys that are listening at home, hopefully you're not going, holy cow, Shane, you're being really preachy. I'm gonna get a soapbox up here next time, and as more people come, so we can have a conversation.
You should do a song and dance.
Oh boy. Bond projects. Really excited about our bond projects. Our financial stuff is finished up. The next step for us is to this Friday, our committee is going to look at the applicants for an RFQ for construction manager, sit down with Mr. Soderquist, and we are staying true with all of the things that we promised in the bond. We have safety projects, roofing projects, the track rebuild, the auditorium, the old gym remodel, and general interior and exterior buildings and parking lot projects. Those are the 7 things that all the different projects are going to be. I did not mention a new gymnasium on that one. So there have been some people that have asked in the community saying, hey, I heard that you guys were wanting the science, you're going to build a science lab and a new gymnasium. Not on this bond, not on this bond. This money here for the next 5 years is going to go for these projects. And that's what we're going to talk about during our school board meetings. We'll sit down with when we get the construction manager to come and help us out so we can get the right bids in, make sure the projects are done and done well. Again, we still don't know, like we've said, it's kind of a crazy time when it comes to construction, that we will complete the projects the best we can all the way through until the money's gone with that. We don't know, sometimes material's hard to get in. And so we're just going to do the very best that we can with that. But I am excited for these projects, excited to see the different things. I'm excited and grateful for our community to pass that. Anything on the outside of that, anything else, the speculation will come up in future discussions 2 or 3 years down the road. As we've talked with other things, when it comes to bond projects, our buildings will always need remodeling. And right now, the state of Idaho does not have anything in place where it allows us to take care of our buildings unless it's through the support of the local community. End of story. All of the different money that has come federally, the money that the state gives us, 85% of that goes to salaries and benefits. And that doesn't take care of that. At least 15% for the maintenance, leaves nothing for anything extra or for buildings. And so we appreciate our community recognizing that, and recognizing that I'm not just trying to live outside of our means as a district. If those bonds would not have passed, we just would not be able to, and we'll just let the buildings crumble. I know that sounds awful, but that's just all there is to it. There's our supplemental levy, our plant facility, and our bond. Those are all 3 things that our local community has to pass because we do not have the funds to take care of that. So thank you, community. Thank you for supporting us in that. And I'm excited. We'll keep everybody updated on the timeline. Roundtable discussion. Anything else that we wanted to bring up that I didn't cover? I know I kind of got passionate on the referee stuff. Sorry, you guys. It's not very often that the referee doesn't have a whistle in his mouth. He used to talk.
It's always good to remind us to be kind.
Yeah.
And good representatives of our community. It's always good to remind us to do that.
Yeah, I know. And that's one thing that going back to the people that were very grateful for the message to go out. Again, my purpose was not to be mean-spirited or hateful or try to say, hey, I'm the boss of this district. No, that's not my leadership style. That's not my leadership style at all. But I do have to say, these are the expectations. These are the expectations, and we should be kind. And at the end of the day, we rarely remember the actual score of the game. Sometimes we forget even who wins and loses. But we do remember that how people responded, how they acted when you left that community, what was it like? And so I think there's always things you can say, you know, are we doing okay with it? Even if we're doing okay, let's say that we're great at it. Let's be excellent in it. You know, we can always push to be a little bit better. And, you know, if there's anything, you know, I mentioned that we're an academic institution first, I would love for us to have an academic state championship every single time. Every single time. Like with the supports that we're starting to create in our district, with our blended days to help kids get their grades up, with the teachers identifying their priority standards to focus towards, there's no reason why we should not be academic state champions in every single sport at all. And if we are lazy in the classroom, we are going to be lazy on the field, generally speaking. Generally speaking, you can't have somebody who has attention to detail on the court or on the field or on the mat. That's the thing that we're trying to teach those kids, that, you know, if we want to run more elaborate offenses, we want to run more blocking schemes, we want to have different types of things, that takes mental power to be able to memorize and do all of that. If you're doing that on the field, you should be able to do it in the classroom. But if we're not doing it in the classroom, it's going to be really hard to be like, hey, I'm not going to really pay attention much in class, but I'm going to come out and I'm going to be busting my brain on the field. It goes hand in hand. And so, you know, parents, if we're upset with our athletic performance, maybe we try this a different way and say, let's be better in the classroom. Let's push ourselves in the classroom, be an academic state champion. That might give us an edge that we're missing on the athletic events. So that's just throwing that out there. There's no reason why we shouldn't be striving for that. And really, if we're upset about anything, it's because we weren't an academic state champion. Because that's something that's 100% in our control. 100%. You complete the work, you're working hard, probably going to get a grade that reflects a higher GPA. We're screwing around, we're sloughing class, I'm not turning everything in. I'm trying to see what's the least amount of thing I can do. That type of attitude in the classroom is going to be in the same thing. Well, coach, can I miss this practice? Well, why do we have to come and do that? Well, maybe I'm going to do this. Well, I'm not going to be there, that coach, on that game or that practice. Sorry, I've got to go do this with my family, so we're going to miss this. If that's the case, you're going to get what you get. And we shouldn't throw a fit. You know, that's something from another. So let's strive for that. I think, you know, that's a really good point. It's something that, let's take control of the things that we can really control. We can control to be nice. We can control to be kind, respectful to other people. Even if we disagree, we can go and talk to that person and say, hey, I'm frustrated. Help me understand this. So thank you, Patty. Anything else, you guys? Thank you for joining us for the meeting. I'm not going to apologize for the content, but I do want to say I love this district. I love working here. This is a great job. In my third year now as superintendent, and I'm so happy to be back. So happy to see the momentum that we have with the positive things that are going on. Does that mean that's perfect? Absolutely not. We're going to keep working to do better. So thank you for joining us here at the PAW meeting. If you've heard this and you need to have any other conversations or comments on it, contact us here at the district office. Reach out to us. Let us know. Let us know, you know, some of the things. I will listen to everything. I will consider everything, take it all together, and then I'm hired to make the best decision that I can based on the district. So thank you for joining us. I hope everybody has a good week. Next meeting is going to be in January. So we'll see you at the next PAW meeting.